Didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Time don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I set goals and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. Chasing the commas till I'm gone. I've been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million base.
That Hotep Jesus dude.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
Hotep Jesus? I love that guy. He's terrific.
What's up, people? Hotep Jesus, we back. Yeah, I'm gonna be in Austin soon. If you're in Austin, Texas, come check me out. I'm gonna be with the Syscoin team for the Rolux party. They rolling out the Rolux. Shout out to the Syscoin team. If you're in Austin, I'll be there soon. Go check my schedule. Go check my schedule. It's on my Twitter account. Follow me on Twitter at Hotep Jesus. I have a wonderful guest today for you. Many of you know her. Huge YouTuber. JustPearlyThings.
Hello.
What's up, yo? How you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm feeling well. Thank you for coming on the platform and having this conversation with me. We have a very, very sharp conversation in front of us. I want to lay out some background, get a little bit of texture to this story of this JustPearlyThings girl woman. Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago originally. So the Chicago suburbs, like 45 minutes from the city.
Okay. Chicago. All right. And give me an idea of what your childhood household looks like. Parents together, they're separated, are they, just getting by? Are they affluent?
So, okay, what do you, hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want that on? Okay, I'm sorry, my producer is a perfectionist, so he's upset with my audio. Okay, are you done? All right, thank you. He's the best though, actually, but
that's what's up. Shout out to the producer.
Yeah. No, so I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, about 45 minutes away from the city.
Okay.
And my dad owned.
I'm hearing myself. It wasn't like that before. Now I hear myself twice. So he did something wrong.
I'm gonna tell him to come back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think he got it.
He sabotaged the set and bounced.
Yeah, I think he thought he was fixing it, but I don't think he did.
But go ahead. I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet while we
Okay, is that better?
One, two, 1, 2.
Is that better?
No. I'm still hearing myself.
How about now?
No. He sent the audio back.
So it's echoing now.
Shout out to Steph Colonel.
Yeah. Something with the Zoom.
Shout out to Jamerson Hayes. There it goes. He fixed it. Yeah, that's it right there.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I grew up 45 minutes from the city. My dad owns a software company with my mom, and they employed about like 200 people, I would say, roughly.
Oh, wow.
Half their company was in India, half of it was in Chicago. I grew up the second out of 6 siblings. I was the oldest girl. I was between 2 boys. My parents did adopt 3 teenagers, but that was after I left the house. So that like wasn't when I was like a kid, like I was gone. And then they also gave up a kid for adoption when my mom was 17. Same parents, so like he's 100% my biological brother, but I didn't meet him till I was 22. I'm 26 now, so I met him like 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So total there's 10, but I grew up like the second to 6th oldest girl.
Okay. So what was childhood like for you? You were in a volleyball team, chess club. What were you into?
Yeah, I was really into sports. That was really all. I did sing a little bit. I was in choir, but mostly sports. I played volleyball, basketball, and then I did soccer and track a little bit, but mostly like volleyball and basketball. So I used to drive 30 minutes to school, and then I would do like a 2-hour basketball practice after school. Then I would drive 45 minutes to volleyball practice and do a 2.5 to like 3-hour practice there. And then I would come home at like 10 o'clock at night. So I was just always like crazy busy and into sports.
Yeah, that sounds wild. So
Yeah.
I hear you are tall.
Yeah, I'm 6 foot.
6 foot. Okay, 6 foot. All right. So we
Yeah,
probably what?
The girls I grew up with are just like crazy tall, like all like.
What are you?
Like my friend here is like 6'3". I had another friend in high school 6'5". Like all the girls I know are just like crazy tall.
Yeah. What are you? Are you Irish? What kind of European are you?
I'm like a mix of like all the European countries. So I'm mostly Irish and German.
Okay.
But I'm also like Welsh, Lithuanian, English. I'm like a mix.
Nice little mixture in
Yeah.
there. Okay.
I'm a butt.
Interesting. Okay. So were you friends with black folks like around that time period, or is this like
Oh wow.
or like, because I'm trying to get a beat on things here, you know.
Okay.
Did you have that influence in your life when you were younger, or was this later on?
I mean, maybe a bit like being on teams. I would say there's probably more like maybe in college more, maybe not high school. It depends. Like I would say there's more black girls on my basketball team than volleyball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not a ton. I would say I grew up around mostly white people.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because you come off to me like, you know, like just a white girl, right? Like a typical white girl. So I'm trying to like, again, I'm not, you know, up to date on some of these things here, but
Yeah.
so what college did you go to, if you don't mind me asking?
It was called Elmhurst College. It's like a small school right by Chicago.
And what'd you study?
Economics and business administration.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
And then I almost minored in political science too, but I got lazy. There's like one class I didn't finish, and I just dropped it my last semester. I didn't care anymore.
Yeah. Okay. How old are you?
I'm 26.
26. Okay. So college isn't that's about 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So the YouTube thing, was this during college or after?
No, I did YouTube. I tried to work for a lot of media companies actually after college. None of them would take me. Can you imagine? I was like, why? And, but yeah, I had no experience, so fair. But I know I worked in sales for 2 years after college. I sold copiers. It was absolutely horrible. I hated that job. And then I quit that. I had one TikTok go viral when I was working that job. And so what I decided was I was going to quit my job and move to England and do a year program where I could get my master's degree and hopefully get a pro volleyball contract. And my goal was to make enough money from YouTube that I could just cover. Because, pro volleyball doesn't pay a lot. So I was like, if I could just make like $2,000 a month on YouTube, like I could live okay. Because, then that with the volleyball thing would be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's how you got to the UK.
Yeah. So I moved about a year and a half ago to London. And at that point, I had a pretty big TikTok following because well, I should say I quit my job and then COVID happened. So I was like unemployed for a year. So I focused like mainly on TikTok in that year. And I did YouTube too, but it was like more TikTok. And then, yeah, I moved to London. And then I started the show about like 4 to 5 months after I was in London.
So wait, hold on. What were you doing on TikTok?
Oh my gosh, I did so much stuff. I'm like very scatterbrained and I have a lot of interests. So I did house tour stuff. I did family TikToks like with my siblings. I almost got on national TV for relationship quizzes. I had 10,000 people take a quiz that you could send to your ex, and it was called Why Did We Break Up? And like you could send it to your ex. And I had 10,000 people take that. I ran out of Google storage space actually. And I also did like a quiz you could send to your side chick. I did a quiz you could send I did all these different like relationship quizzes. I did rejection therapy, where like every day you go out and try to get rejected, like doing something. So like I went door to door in rich neighborhoods asking for a job. Got one in a day. It was so easy. I was like, I didn't want it though. I just rejected it. And then I did, oh my gosh, I could like go on and on. I did relationship content with like the boyfriend I had at the time too. I did a lot of stuff.
Okay. So TikTok is really your first opportunity to like become a content creator, I guess.
Yeah, I started on TikTok, but they banned me. Yeah, they took it away. I almost had 1 million on TikTok and then they took it. I was like, no, why? Why, God?
What do you attribute your success to there?
On TikTok?
Yeah, like did you, take a course or did you study other popular creators? How did you figure that whole thing out?
I would just say repetition. I'm not the most patient individual in the world. So if I'm bad at something, I just do it 1 million times till I get good. So I posted like 1 million videos a day, just like trying to get good at TikTok. And then, yeah, but my audience wasn't very good on TikTok because I was too random. Like I had too much random stuff. So it just wasn't like the best audience anyway. So
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
it
So
was mostly women though back then. No one believes me. It was like 80% women. They all hate me on TikTok now, but they like swapped.
you're saying previously your audience was mostly women?
Yeah, it was like 80% women.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I guess with the type of, quizzes you were doing, that's what you would attract, right? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of girls wanted to send quizzes to their exes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen these quizzes before. I've probably seen one of yours. So, all right. So now we were in the UK, right? And now, what makes the transition from TikTok to YouTube?
Well, the first video I did on TikTok or on YouTube was a house tour.
Okay.
So everyone on TikTok wanted to see like a full YouTube house tour, so we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got me monetized. Then I did rap reactions. So it'd be like whitest girl on earth reacts to like Pooh Shiesty or whatever. And that was good. My ex-boyfriend actually thought of that because he was listening to one of those songs and he just thought it was funny because I didn't know like what the words like meant in it. Like I can't remember. It was like some word in the song, a steppa. I don't remember what it was. It was some word I'd never heard, and he thought it was hilarious. So then he had me react to it, and then someone sent me. Then I started doing like reactions in general. Someone sent me Kevin Samuels, and I was just like the biggest Kevin Samuels fan. So I was getting so sick of like the rap music stuff because honestly, I'm not that big into rap. I like country. So then when he sent me Kevin Samuels, I was just so interested in his content. I loved him. So then, yeah, that just took off. And then,
so hold on, you did the house tour, channel got monetized. How many subscribers at this point would you say?
Like 2,000 maybe.
Oh, okay. So nothing too big. All right.
But my RPM was so much better off of that house tour. Oh my gosh. It was, I forgot what it was, but it was stupid. Yeah. It was like crazy. The RPM from like women versus men.
So walk me through this content of reacting to rap videos. How do you do that? What does that look like?
It would just be music videos. I mean, they're still up on my channel, to
So
be honest.
what would you do to the music video? Would you be dancing or what?
No, it would just be me interpreting the lyrics. So I did one that went viral was like Sosa. So I would just say like, I'm trying to remember. It was like, he would say like, these bitches love Sosa, and I'd be like, who is Sosa? Like who is like, I don't know, what does Sosa stand for? And like people just thought it was funny, like, and I would like, yeah, they would just have certain things in it, and I would just talk about it. And
Oh, okay. The naive white girl bit, I guess, is what's happening here, reacting to black culture. Your ex was black?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because the interwebs is saying you're into black guys.
I mean, my last boyfriend was, but I mean, I don't know.
So
I don't really discriminate. I don't know.
Oh, okay. But you don't prefer black men over other types of men?
It doesn't really matter to me.
Okay. Would you date another black guy?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, interesting. All right. Just trying to draw some connections here, trying to make sense of the story here. So now we're at the YouTube, we're making these hip hop videos. What happens next?
Then someone sent me Kevin Samuels to react to.
Right. And then you started doing Kevin Samuel reactions, right?
Yeah, because
Okay.
at this point, I was so sick of the rap stuff anyway, because I'm more of a country fan. So, yeah, someone sent me Kevin Samuels, and I just loved Kevin. Like, I was the biggest fan. I thought his stuff was great. I think he's like one of the best YouTubers ever of all time.
Okay. And so what happened after that? What happened after the Kevin Samuels? What was your next, I guess?
I started reacting to just like Manosphere stuff. So Rollo Tomasi, I was also a really big fan of.
Okay. Yeah, I know Rollo.
Yeah, like I think he's literally a genius.
Yeah.
I just kind of followed what interested me. So I just was really interested in like the Manosphere stuff. And then what happened next? Then I went to London, and I thought London was so cool because everyone in London, like that was the most diverse place I'd ever lived. And what was cool about London was like I could meet someone from Italy and from Spain, and like the cultures would just be so freaking different. And it was so cool. And I just thought it'd be so cool to bring everyone in a room and like talk about relationships, which is something like everyone, no matter what culture you're from, has in common. So, yeah, then I did that, and then the show took off, and that's how I got here. Sort of. I will say the first video that took off was I showed my friend the red pill for the first time. That was before the show, but yeah.
Right. Okay. So this video that you're talking about went viral. The red pill one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What was that one about?
It was showing my friend a Jordan Peterson video.
You red pilled somebody off of a Jordan Peterson video?
Well, sort of. I mean, Jordan Peterson's not red pill, but it was talking about the pay gap. So
Okay.
a lot of people, like, it's hard because people use red pill in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I was more talking about like we're told the pay gap is one thing, but it's another. And so what I found was like there would be girls that to me were so logical, but they just believed this stuff that like just wasn't true. And so I sat my friend down and I showed her Jordan Peterson, and it was like an hour video, and it's like a 2.5 hour reaction of me just like breaking down why as a woman you're not oppressed. And it's kind of cool for the audience because they can see in real time like kind of like people's minds changing about certain issues. So it was first Jordan Peterson, and then it became a whole series of like showing her either red pill or conservative like media basically. And then it wasn't just her, like I would just bring girls from the show like back, and then like if there's someone in the show that maybe was kind of in the middle or had like was I don't know, undecided about a certain issue, I would like show them a video and just see how their mind would change or not.
So this was like the I guess some sort of feminist chick,
Some were, some weren't.
or just
This
sort
girl-
of influenced by it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of that going around. Okay, cool. So then you start the relationship show. What's that called?
The pregame.
The pregame. I like that name. The pregame. Okay. Now there's a lot of black folks on this show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like predominantly black folks.
There's a good. It just depends on the show. Like some shows, yes. Some shows, no. It depends.
Because the streets are saying you built your career using the culture, so to speak, using black culture, right? Now I'm not saying use in a bad way right now. I'm just saying that, you know, you've borrowed from the culture, right? A bit, you know, with the hip hop and the Kevin Samuels, and then the people on the program are definitely, you know, mostly. I guess they're like what, UK Brits, UK. What is that like? I guess. Oh no, wait, African Brits. Yeah. What'd you say?
I mean, it's a mix. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of UK Brits on the show, or yeah, African. Yeah.
African Brits, right? Okay. So how long was that show going?
It's been going on for a year.
Oh, it's still going on.
Yeah.
The pregame.
Yeah.
Is that the one that Brittany Renner and Andrew Tate were on? Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
That was our 100th episode. Yes.
That was your 100th episode.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. It sort of reminds me of the whole fresh and fit type feel, you know, where you bring people together and you ask them relationship questions. You know, that's the vibe I'm getting here. And I think it's a great lane. You know, we have our award show called The Grifties. Make sure y'all vote for me at grifties.com. And I think this is a good grift. This is a good grift, right? But I think it's fair to say that a good portion of the content did feature African Brits, right?
Yeah, some did, some didn't. It depends on the show. I genuinely don't know. I don't take like polls of how many are showing up, you know.
Yeah. No, I just, I took a look at the channel and it seemed like a lot of African Brits was on there. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's nothing wrong. I think black and white people need to work together more often, you know? And I think there's beautiful things we could build there. So I wouldn't run from that, per se, and say that, a good portion. There's nothing wrong with saying that, right? That a good portion of your talent was African Brit, right? Is that something we can't say?
No, it's not something you can't say. I would say a good portion, sure. I just don't genuinely know what percentage because I don't know.
Okay. I mean, your producer's black. He looked like an African Brit.
No, well, yeah.
Right? And that's cool. I think, like I said, I think we need to work together. So let's talk about, I want to talk about the business, right? We're going to talk about the 70-30 deal and all of that. I want to go through that. I'm a business guy. I like to get to the numbers. This is between, I hadn't heard this brother until recently, Ra Garvey, right? And the claim here is that he helped build your channel. Would you say that's fair to say? At least in some regard?
He helped some, sure.
Do you think you would have got the buzz with or without him?
Yes, I do.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, you've had tremendous success on TikTok. You had the house tour stuff popping. Okay. How much of that, because you said it's been a year, right? So how much of that was Sa? Was he there from the beginning or did he come later on in the middle or?
He came in the first couple shows and then, I think maybe he would, so weekly guest, or we would do the show together from June. So from June was like the official saying, hey, we're working together? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
roughly June, sometime in the summer.
So a little over 6 months we're talking about here. 6, maybe 8 months you guys were together. I guess the breakup is recent over this, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you think there was any issues with your relationship with him prior to the breakup?
No, I had no idea. Yeah, no, everyone was shocked. Like, to
Yeah.
be honest. Yeah.
Felt blindsided.
Yeah, very much so. I thought we were friends. I was like, dang, I guess not.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah. I like met his son too. I was like, that's okay.
I don't like to see people break up. I hope you guys mend this thing and find a way to work together. Let's talk about the numbers, right? So it's true the deal was 70-30 that was on the table, right?
There's some legal stuff going on, so I can't really go into certain aspects.
No, I get that. But so let's take it here then. If we were to do a deal, Hotep Jesus, come to JustPearlyThings, and I work for you, how much revenue do you think that show would generate?
Well, I'd have to look at your ad revenue now. So I'd probably at first ask to see your ad revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would probably calculate how many hours you would want to work.
Mm.
And then based off of previous people, my goal is always to get you making more than you're making now.
Mm.
That's always my goal. So I would probably look at what other people have made using our system and try to get you to a percentage that makes you what you're making now, if not more. That's always my goal.
So it would be my channel?
What?
Would it be my channel? Like, would we use my YouTube channel or would we use your YouTube channel? Like, whose channel would we use?
It depends how people want to do it. It's different for every person.
Okay. In a case like a split where you get the majority, is that on your channel or is that would be on my channel?
It depends.
On what? Like, what kind of parameters are we talking about here where it would go into making a decision like that? Because I saw the deal and I'm like, maybe I could work for PearlyThingz. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know what these numbers look like.
I mean, it depends like what you're bringing to the table. So if we take up 100% of the costs, we take up the majority of their ad revenue. Some people come with their own editors. Some people come with their own thumbnail people. Yeah, so it just depends on the person. So, yeah, some people want a show where we get guests for it, and that costs money. So it just depends what the person wants to do. Yeah.
Okay. No.
And how much they're making now. But my goal in any deal is always to try to have them make more than they were making before.
Yeah, yeah. So, I believe it would make sense for a creator like me to just go on your channel and get paid. Wouldn't that make sense for me? You got point something million, right? I think that's the best way for me to make money.
It depends on. I'd have to look at your channel analytics and like ask you how much you.
It's trash. It's trash. I'm saying right now. I'm like, yeah, you're just gonna have to rate me a F plus.
Yeah, it depends. There's like different. Because we're probably going to start a network page for the whole network. So that's probably going to be in the future like a starter to kind of see how people do, and then spin off and doing their own thing. Like there's pros and cons because when people come to my channel, they're here to see me. So I'm going to bring an audience that's here to see me, where if you have your own, it's like the audience is a bit more specific for you. So it just depends. I give a lot of freedom to the people that are signing to kind of like do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people ask questions and are a little bit more specific in their questions, and sometimes they're not. So.
Right. But if it's I'm just thinking like here, if it's an upstart, and it's not making any money, or is it making money, right? Like when you throw somebody a deal, is this into a revenue generating channel already? And then there's a commission split on the back end?
Yeah, it depends. So Auntie's channel was brand new. So Auntie Jenny was someone we signed. She went from 0 to 40,000 subscribers in like 4 months.
Okay.
So she went from not making any money to making money. And then where King Richie's was someone that already had a channel and a following. So he went from like 30 or 40,000 subs to 70,000 again in 4 months. So I think on average we get people 40,000 subscribers in 4 months.
Damn. Okay. So that's on their channel using your resources.
Yes. Yeah. They get access to my whole team. So I always try to give people as much creative freedom as they want. Like I was just speaking to someone that we're potentially maybe going to sign. We'll see. And she was talking about how she wanted to bring in like women and give them like advice on how to be a better wife. And I was like, oh, like we could recruit the girls for you. You could do it in studio. And
no, that's dope.
So it just depends on the person.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. But with Sa, you know, I know Sa, he basically said he was getting paid initially, and then that's when you came back to the whole, you know, 70-30 split. And that's what I'm trying to understand, the 70-30 split, because he said he wanted money. But I think this contract can be negotiated with amendments. Like, for example, right, like let's say I say, you know, I'll bring my editors on. Would that take like 5 or 10% off the deal and bring it closer to 50-50 or something like that?
Yeah, if he wanted to use his own, well, and we've also invested over $100,000 in equipment here. So it's actually like a full-blown like studio. But yeah, if he wanted, we would certainly edit the percentage. If he wanted to do 50% of the cost, we would certainly, yeah.
Oh, you're saying taking up some costs.
Yeah, if you want to take up costs, then
the splits will be different. That makes sense. I mean, that, you know,
he was also the one chasing, like, I don't know. It was
chasing what?
But like it was just interesting because he was saying that like I was kind of chasing him for it, but he was more chasing me for so I don't know. There's only so much I can say. So
yeah, you felt like he was more pursuing the deal than you, and that's why the value was sort of flip-flopped.
Yeah, just because I mean I have a lot going on, to be honest, and it's like it's very busy, so I wasn't like dying to take on talent, but yeah, so it would, yeah,
I know you probably, you know, making good money.
We stopped doing our show together after I left for break. So I went home for Christmas and we just never started up again. So he was more of the one like asking me about it and like, yeah, so.
Is there any particular reason why you guys never rebooted the show, or?
I went down to 2 shows a week because I was doing volleyball. So I've been a semi-pro athlete the whole time. I've been like doing the YouTube stuff. Like I've been on like a full-fledged volleyball team, traveling away, all this stuff. So I just like, I was like, after I went back from break, I was so stressed out before break. I was like, I just need to go down to 2 a week. And then we could maybe start after I'm done with season.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, that makes sense. Okay. So you just didn't have the bandwidth to do the show. Okay. Did you reach out to him and tell him that, or was he just like, hey, you know what happened? You know, do you feel like you left him hanging, or do you feel like you didn't? Because maybe that could be some of the reason why he has this.
We had a conversation about it before, so I thought we were like fine, to be honest. Because and then he had some family stuff going on too, so it was kind of just like we were both busy. So I on my end, maybe I didn't communicate it as well as I could have, but on my end, I thought we were fine.
Interesting. Could a brand be big enough to come to Just Pearly Things, use your facilities and editors, and get a deal that's maybe 70-30? Maybe they're just bigger than, you know, your network, and you can say, hey, I'll take the small portion on this.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. It's not even based on subs or views. It's based on your revenue as a channel. So it's like every person I sign, I have to spend $5,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on what they do. So if I can, my goal again is always to get you to a point where you're making more than you were making before. So your lifestyle doesn't change. That's always my goal. So, you know, if he paid attention to like the numbers I got my other talents too, like in terms of revenue, he would have been making more at that percentage. I just don't know if he like understood the math, to be honest, but you know.
That's what I was trying to figure out here, because okay, so you help people
like
build their channels.
If you're making $2,000 a month on YouTube and now you're making $20,000 a month on YouTube, what's more, 30% at 20,000 or 100% at 2,000? Like a lot of times people want 100%. They want 100% of nothing, and it's like, and I'm not here to do charity work. Like I don't know.
Yeah. So you said the channel is doing how much now? 10, you know, say it's doing 10,000. That's 30%. That'd be 3,000 compared to 2,000. So you'd be up 1,000.
No, I said 20. But
Oh, 20,000. Oh, damn. Oh, my bad.
Well,
I take that back.
it depends on the month.
So I'd be like maybe 6K. Yeah, I mean that's a good bump. You're making 2K. You're making 6K now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I could see it that way. If you're,
you know, it's also like, if he had communicated more, I would have been open for like different amendments after like we paid the money back that I spent on the channel. You know what I mean? So I would have been open to like more stuff. He just made a video.
So,
yeah.
Like, you're basically saying there are expenses that come along with building someone's channel. If they want to come in and share those expenses, we can make amendments to the contract. If they're using all of my resources, then you got to take the lion's share.
In general,
I can't say I argue with that.
What they come in with, like if someone's making 10K a month on YouTube,
right?
Well, then you get a higher percentage.
Yeah.
You know. But if you're making 2K a month on YouTube, you'll get a lower percentage. You know, I mean.
Yeah, and they're saying like these were slave contracts, is what they were saying. 3-year lockdown. You own the brand. Would you own the brand?
No, after the 3 years, I mean, again, remember this whole YouTube thing is a year old.
Right.
So I'm not going to claim I'm the perfect contract maker. All right. I'm not going to claim like I'm the end all be all. I know how the contracts go.
Right.
And I've been told that this was a bad deal for me because at the end of the 3 years, they get to walk away with their channel and keep it. So I could put in all these resources into a channel, and I gave an amendment where they could leave after the first year. So yeah, so I was like, if anything, I've been told this is bad for me because I don't own it's not like a music where you own it for like perpetuity.
Right.
You know? Right. But anyways,
so you own, but you own it for that 3-year period?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I will say it does depend on the person, and that's the
right,
one
right,
thing.
Right. I get
he seemed to think he knew like the contracts I worked out with other people, and his numbers were just wrong. I was like, okay, but like, but
I mean,
yeah,
that's not exactly that bad now. 3 years. All right. So you own the channel for 3 years. The revenue split is your lion's share,
and you get 10 pieces of content posted a day.
Damn. And
so,
you do everything. I get to use your studio. But and after 3 years, I keep my channel free and clear, and you don't make no money after that.
Yeah, I mean, we hope they resign, but I've been told that's a bad way to do it. Don't put that in writing. That might switch. That might switch. I've been told that's not. I should not do
Pearly,
it that way.
I need that deal, Pearly.
I know. I was like, it's funny. The more I talk about this deal, the more people DM me asking for it. They're like, wait, I'll do the morning show. And yeah. So.
And you make 10 pieces of content a day, and it doesn't cost me anything. I might have to move to the UK, Pearly. As long as you're not a white supremacist, we still got to talk about that, you know. But it still doesn't seem it makes sense to me. I get what you're saying. Okay, so now it kind of makes sense with this contract. I don't know what else is in the contract, but going based upon
Well,
what you
and
said.
I'm really big on giving the people that work for me creative freedom. So if
Yeah.
someone has an idea of like a show or a piece of content they want to make, like we just did a dating show where we brought in like we was called the Red Pill Bachelor.
Okay.
And we brought in like like 10 girls to like do one-on-one interviews and like or one-on-one dates and like and basically like he asks them like more red pill leaning like questions and then he has to eliminate them one by one. And yeah, and so it's just kind of like the cool thing about working here is like we really are here to make whatever content they want to make possible. So
That's dope. That's dope. Production house studio. I said this a while back. This is going to be the future. Now, before we hop into the Nick Fuentes stuff, I want to stay on topic here with the. There's another debate swirling around, right? The African American versus the African, right? I call it the diaspora wars. This is a thing on social media amongst the Boule blacks across many continents. Did you see money in that opportunity? Did you notice that rift and say, "Oh, this is a good niche," and try to bring some light to that conversation?
I didn't even no.
You didn't know about it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because I didn't even in that interview. I didn't even say like I was comparing Westerners to non-Westerners. I didn't even say anything about Africans versus like I said that Africans are hard workers, but I did not say like comparing it to the U.S. Like in that way. No, no, that was not.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So what you're saying is, the internets have got that misconstrued. When you made those comments about Africans, you were not doing that in juxtaposition to the African American.
I swear, no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was more talking about Westerners versus non-Westerners, and I was just using Africans as an example. So, like, I grew up with nannies from around the world. So, I mean, in this my dad hired people from all over, and he had an international company. So, I was more speaking to like, non-Western people. I just think come in sometimes with like a hunger that Americans in general don't because we're a bit spoiled. So I mean, I think it's hard not to be. And a lot of my dad's best employees were non-Western too, but they weren't African. They were from, I think, India. So
yeah. So foreign labor is better and cheaper.
Sometimes. So it depends for the job. I will say it depends what job. Yeah. Like different cultures are like better at different things. We had German nannies, so it depends on the job.
Yeah. Depends on the job. No, I get it. It totally makes sense. Now you hosted Nick Fuentes, right? Did you know who he was before you hosted him? Did you know who he was?
Oh my gosh, this is the big controversy. Okay, did I know? Did I not know? I knew some things. I did not know others. Okay.
What did you know?
I saw him on No Jumper, and my show was about relationships, and he had like a crazy take on race mixing. So that was why I invited him. We did a panel about interracial relationships, and then I just interviewed him like one-on-one on top of that.
Okay.
And I did know he had his bank account banned, and I was like, why did he get his bank account banned?
Yeah. Nick Fuentes is quite the character. You've since taken the video down, but I saw you tweet. You said you're going to put it back up.
Yeah, I have a statement coming out on everything. I've just been busy, but it's coming.
Interesting. So you made a statement previously, and then I guess that's after you took it down. Why'd you feel like? Did you feel pressure? Was it pressure from YouTube? Did the Illuminati call you and tell you, you messed up? Or
no, there was no pressure from YouTube. You'll see you'll see. I'll just say that.
Okay. But was it the mob? The people?
there is a reason for it, but
There's a reason that that you took it down.
yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
but I gotta wait till the video comes out.
Did you know that you couldn't host certain people on your platforms? Did you know there was like unwritten rules that basically say, hey, you better not bring that person on?
I knew that he was a controversial guest. I knew that some parts of the video would definitely be taken the wrong way. What I did not know was how crazy it was going to get. But I did know he was controversial. I didn't know that he was a Holocaust denier till he was already in England. That was new. Like, cause he came to England from, so like he was there for like 3 days or 4 days. So we just filmed like a ton of content with him. And it was like the day, but like the first day he got in England, I started like researching him a bit more for the interview, but he was like already there. And I was like, dang, he denies the Holocaust. Like, I've never heard of a Holocaust denier before. I was mad.
You never heard of that before?
Yeah, that was.
Are you still cool with Nick?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so he's cool people. Do you think he's cool people? Or would you say he's somebody that somebody should not hang out with?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say he has some crazy views. But overall, he was really polite. He was really nice to everyone that works here. I there's even clips of my staff, and people will say like I have a gun to their head or something, but I certainly don't and did not make them. But like Blessing, one of my producers even said that he didn't find him to be racist and that he thought he was a nice guy.
Was that an African that said that? It was, okay.
I don't.
Okay. So the whole Nick Fuentes thing bobbled up, and then that's when you made that comment, right? You made that comment. Slavery wasn't that bad.
I did not say that. They took that out of context. I did not say that.
I think the exact verbiage you had was something like, some of the slaves actually had great relationships with their master. Yeah. In hindsight, do you think that's a bit insensitive to the struggle of Black people?
Probably, yeah. But I was actually referring to a Thomas Sowell book. So that's the one thing they didn't really talk about was if you watch the full interview, which it's down, but it'll be back up. I was really quoting Thomas Sowell and like parts of one of his books. So that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Thomas Sowell's work. Absolutely. Do you remember what that work was?
Yeah, there was a couple. It was Black Rednecks, White Liberals was one of the books I read.
Yeah.
There was a bibliography from someone, I can't remember who it was, that was a slave. See, I don't even want to talk about this.
Slavery.
But that's where it came from. Was I read the bibliography of a slave, and that's what he talked about in the book was his relationship with and that was where that comment came from, was because I read this book and that's what he talked about it. And in Thomas Sowell talked about a couple instances too. So, I don't know how widespread. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying those books were what I read.
Interesting. I'll be honest with you. From the material I've seen, you don't seem like this type of person that's a history buff, right? Like you're playing volleyball, you're studying business and economics. You're probably not like doing a heavy lifting of history studies, right?
I wouldn't say history studies. I just used to listen to audiobooks a lot when I ran. So I just used to listen to a lot of Thomas Sowell. I used to listen to like some old bibliographies. I ran a marathon. I did marathon training a couple years ago. And that's like what I used to do. So
that's good.
I wouldn't say I'm like an expert on world history. No. Just someone that listens to books sometimes.
Yeah. See, that's the impression I got, that, you just, maybe you haven't seen, all of the documentation surrounding all of these random events throughout history, or maybe they're not random at all. Definitely many of them planned. But I just want to understand, how you view this thing, because you're not for reparations either, right? You're like, that's a no-go. Meaning you're against reparations.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty open on my channel that I'm pretty conservative.
Yeah.
Like very conservative, and I've said that from the beginning. So, no, I don't really believe in most government handouts. So I wouldn't believe in that either. No.
Interesting. Wow. Conservative. So, how do you draw the correlation between conservatism and reparations? I guess the parallel you're drawing here is basically saying if the government has to do it, then it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I just haven't seen like how that would work. Yeah, I mean, like you're taking money from people that didn't do anything. Like, I mean, like maybe their ancestors did, but they didn't. And I'm just not really like for that.
Even if the effects of said thing are affecting those people today.
I just don't think that's fair to do that to someone that hasn't done anything for someone that hasn't actually gone through it. So that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah. So I guess what you're basically saying is the taxpayer shouldn't bear the burden of reparations. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I get that. I actually agree with that. I think there's a litany of companies that have already admitted to the, the slavery problem. I've spoken about this plenty of times. Barclays, insurance companies, banks, mostly banks and insurance companies. So I definitely don't want to pay my own reparations. Did you ever try to imagine a world where reparations does make sense? Where reparations would be paid?
No, I haven't really gotten that deep into the thought process of reparations. I've just heard about it, and people have pitched it to me.
Yeah.
I just said that doesn't seem like something I would go for.
Okay. Did you? Because I know the conversation you had with Sa in regards to reparations. This is very old. This is before you even get the studio and all of that stuff, right? So they pulled that clip out, and then that's a discussion now. But that's obviously, your stance on it. So I guess you're against all the money going to Ukraine and all of that stuff too.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know a ton about the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Most of what I learned about the Ukraine was from that Nick Fuentes interview. So from what I know, I probably would not be for that. I'm generally keep the money in-house, but I don't really have strong opinions on it.
Yeah. So you mentioned being a conservative. You've been a conservative your whole life? Or is that a recent thing?
I would say I've been more conservative. What do they say? If you're not a liberal, if you're not at least a little liberal in college, you don't have a heart.
Right.
That's what my dad, but he would say if you're not a conservative by the time you're 40 and you don't have a job. But for the most part, yeah, I've always been more conservative. I'm very pro-life due to like the fact that my parents gave up my brother for adoption.
Yeah.
So because of that, that's one reason I'm conservative, but that's the hill I'll die on. But
no, I did that. I totally did that. I'm definitely on the conservative side of things here. It's just like it's a touchy subject, when we talk about reparations, conservatism, and then like, people are saying things like you filled the vacuum that was created after Kevin Samuels passed, right? And that's really what they're saying is like, you built your brand off of black people. But now it's like they're starting to see like, you're not exactly for the culture, let's say. You're just doing business. Would that make sense?
I mean, my first viral video was like that when I started actually making money off of YouTube. You know I've reacted to probably more than anyone? Jordan Peterson. Okay. Jordan Peterson, that was my number one So, I mean, in terms of influences, I would say Fresh and Fit, Kevin Samuels, Jordan Peterson were like my three, and Rollo, probably my four biggest influences with the show. So, I do think a sector of my audience found me from Kevin Samuels, but to say like that the majority of my audience watched him, I just don't, that's not true. And I can see it in my analytics because it shows you the other channels that they watched. And it really wasn't Kevin Samuels. So
Yeah, I could not imagine a white girl from the suburbs filling the void of Kevin Samuels. I'd like to go on the record and say I thought that shit sounded stupid when I first heard it.
No, I mean, freaking, that was so interesting when they're like, "This is your new leader." I'm like, when did I say I was the leader? I'm doing my YouTube channel. Like, I'm sorry, I'm successful. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't. Like, I'm sorry. I'll be worse at it next time. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I would not say you filled the vacuum with Kevin Samuels.
Could?
I don't think
could
anybody
fill the
could.
vacuum? Nobody could. Like, to say anyone filled the vacuum of Kevin Samuels is so disrespectful. That man was I was just a super fan of Kevin Samuels. I don't think anyone can or will fill his void.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree here. All right, so it's interesting. So, white girl, suburb. I'm putting you in a box now. Dates black guys, works with black people. You've definitely gotten coin off the culture, but you're not for the culture. Like the culture would be like, hey, don't talk bad about reparations, Like my take on reparations is I'm completely agnostic, right? Like I'm the type of person where I look at it and I'm like, I'm not out here asking for reparations, but I'm also not telling people, hey, you sound stupid asking for reparations. That's definitely not something I'm going to do, right? And that's my definition of conservatism. Like, we think about Donald Trump, guy for the people, the populace, right? So you mentioned conservatism and less government, right? And I get that. But what you're basically saying is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, that people come before the government, no? Would you agree that that the United States citizens should come as a priority before the government?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more for individual freedom, so.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I see somebody the reparations conversations and they shout it down, I'm like, whose side are you on here? Are you on the government side? Are you on the people's side? Because there's thousands of different causes that people are shouting for, right? Some we might deem legitimate, some we would say are illegitimate and deserve no merit, no honor, no oxygen. Reparations is where you draw the line, though. You think like, no, I'm going to say a hard no to this.
Yeah, I'm not for reparations.
But are you against it? Because I'm not for it either, but I'm also not against it. I'm not also coming out here and saying a hard line no. Like that's where you were in the beginning, and I just want to clarify, are you a hard line no?
Yeah, I'm a hard line no when it comes to reparations.
Oh, man.
It's not the hill I'll really die on. It's not something I think about daily, but if you had to ask me, I'd say no.
There are no groups of people that should be given any sort of retribution from the United States government?
I mean, ones that maybe are alive today.
Well, yeah, if somebody's alive today, yeah.
Like, if that, maybe at the time it would have made sense, but in 2022, no, I'm not for it, but.
Yeah. So, just so you know, the reparations conversation for some groups has evolved into literally, the work of LBJ, the government handouts and all of that stuff. And also redlining. That stuff's recent. Those people are still alive. And the gross mismanagement of the black community in inner cities by Democratic representatives. Now, you're a conservative, so the Democrats do a poor job in black neighborhoods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I think everybody can agree with that. Democrats generally do a poor job in inner cities. For that, because that's happening today, and those people are alive today, do you think those people deserve reparations from the political party that has failed them?
I don't think I know enough about it to really comment on it, so I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. But just going based upon the evidence we have now, right? Like on one side, it's like we know the Democrats have just been giving black people the raw end of the stick. So hypothetically speaking, if one group has given another group the raw end of the stick, and those people have to be, that got a bad deal are black people, do you think today that those black people should deserve some retribution?
I mean, I think it would make more sense to change the people in charge and maybe switch through policy than retribution. That's my gut feeling on it, but I don't really have strong opinions on it.
Change the policies.
Yeah.
Change the policies. Okay. Damn. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. Especially Chicago. Chicago public schools are so bad. You know what's crazy? I went to Catholic school and it was like $8,000 for my tuition every year, something like that. And the Chicago public schools give, I think, it was 12 a couple years ago when I checked, but now like $15K per kid, something like that. And yet they have worse outcomes, even though and I would see it even in the suburbs, because my friend, we went to the same middle school and she went to a public high school and I went to a private one. And my ACT score, we were the same grades in middle school, and my ACT score was like 5 points higher than hers when I graduated high school, something like that. And I would just see like the school she went to, like they would have such nice facilities, everything would be so nice, but the teachers didn't require them to do shit. So their life was like literally so easy. So if I think the number one issue in like cities, I would just say it's the school system. I think they're actually really bad. And this was me in the suburbs, so if it's like that in the suburbs, I can't imagine what it's like downtown.
Yeah. I think the education system pretty much has failed the nation as a whole. I would definitely agree with that. So I think you're just basically a capitalist. You're a girl who wants to get on YouTube and make some coin. You're not exactly invested in black culture.
I would say I'm more invested in men's issues overall. I think some of those especially affect the black community, and that's why maybe I have more of that following. So I'm doing a documentary right now on the court system in the UK. I just spent the last 3 hours interviewing a guy before this, talking about, like, basically in tears, talking about how he didn't have access to his children. I think that is what I'm the most passionate about when it comes to my channel. Male suicide, I think, is a really big issue. And same with, one of my brothers attempted to commit suicide at one point. So I would say when it comes to my channel, it's mostly about men's issues. And a lot of times that can be like when it comes to relationships, because a lot of what I talk about is how, women have how is a man supposed to lead in a relationship when women have all the leverage? Yeah. Because if she walks away, she takes everything. Right. Where if he walks away.
Yeah. In some ways, I have no sympathy. I know that there's a lopsidedness when it comes to male-female dynamics, and it is what it is. It'll teach men discipline. I wouldn't go to the system and tell the system to change anything. No, if you see that another brother's life got ruined because of said decisions, maybe you need to keep your thing in your pants. You know what I mean, or be a better judge of character. When it comes to women.
I think that's, one way to look at it. But I mean, the guy I talked to today, he was married for 10 years and it was to a woman that was of a Muslim background. And sorry, someone's calling me. and she left, and he hasn't seen his kids in a year and a half because in the UK, the women are actually paid to, they're given free counsel if they say that the guy abused the kids. So they're basically paid to say that he abused the kids.
That's wild.
And then what happens after that? It takes him a year to even get to see his kids. And then he has to spend $20,000 to hopefully maybe see his kids. Or he can say yes and say, and just go with the order. And then he could go to court, win the kids, and if he's not the if he doesn't get primary custody, then she can just do it all over again and start it all over. So it's like he could have done nothing wrong, and she can kick him out of the house. So like if she can say he abused her, and she's paid to do that literally by the government, and then he loses his house. So now everything he owns is gone. This man's living in his car. And this is from a woman that was from a Muslim background. She was in the West, but her parents were from, I can't remember where, but it was some traditional country. Like what was he supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like what is he? And now it's been 3 years. He's like crying because he hasn't seen his 3 daughters. And you could say you have no sympathy, but like, how could you not have said, like, this is why men commit suicide, because they and then he lost his job because he's homeless and he's under such stress trying to see his children that like he can't be, he worked in like electric. And so how is he supposed to keep his job and be mentally stable and like working under like these basically very dangerous conditions when he made a lot of money? And on top of that, now he loses his job and he's paying $1,500 a month in child support with no job. And COVID delayed everything. And it's like, he did everything right. He didn't even get married by the state either. He wasn't even like married in the state. So he didn't do that. All he did was have a kid. And the problem is when men have children, like,
where's he from?
He's from the UK.
There's a white dude, black dude.
He was Muslim.
But what is he? Is he Arab?
I don't remember exactly. But no, he was born in the UK, but he's from a Muslim background. So his parents were from somewhere else. So it's like what did he do wrong?
Yeah.
He picked the right girl. I mean, she wasn't super out there. She came from a good family.
Did you see his face?
Yeah.
Was he is he a black guy? Is he an Arab guy? Is he a white guy? Is he Chinese? What is he?
Arab, I would say.
He's an Arab? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's an Arab Muslim guy. What country was this that he met this lady?
He met her here.
And she's a Muslim woman, also an Arab woman. Mm-hmm. And they break. She heads to the court system. And then she leaves the country, or she's still in the country? They're both in the same country.
She's still in the country. But the problem is she took the kids and accused him of abuse.
So he can't even go visit them because of this allegation of abuse.
Correct. And the problem is it takes a year a lot of times, and it was delayed with COVID for them to even get to see his kids.
Wow.
And even get to go to court to get the chance to see his kids.
Yeah.
So
no, that's foul. That's foul. That's foul. Do you think those groups of men deserve reparations?
I think those groups of men deserve to get access to their kids. And I think women should face jail time that do not let men see, or women that spitefully, I think that the family court system is so messed up. And the more I learn about it, the more I just cannot even believe how messed up it is. Because it's up to the discretion of a judge. He doesn't even get a jury. And he can be accused of abuse. But do I think they deserve reparations? I think that the women should be punished for what they're doing. I don't think there's going to be an easy way to do that. But
well, for the time that he's missed, right? You got to talk about. You mentioned he hasn't been able to secure any employment time off from the kids. You don't think that he has a case to sue the government?
Potentially. Maybe.
Maybe? then
I don't know the solution to this. Yeah, I don't know the solution to it. I think that women should face jail time that do not let fathers see their kids. I think it's that serious.
Yeah, but you throw her in jail. What about me? I need some bread. I need some paper from the government. You ruined my life with the corroboration of this trollop. I don't get no retribution in Pearly's world.
I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reason why I asked that is because, you mentioned, that's where your passion lies right now, right? And helping these types of men. And, I just thought, following that line of thinking, you'd like to see them, get some sort of retribution. But I get it. You want to stand 10 tones down. What's that?
No, it's more, I just don't know the best way how you would do that because it's so common.
Yeah.
So if there was a way to do it that made sense, yeah, maybe, but I don't know.
So, but there's lawsuits all the time, no? Right? Like people just sue people,
Actually,
especially here in America.
They're suing somebody here, hypothetically.
Yeah.
They are suing. It's on my notebook. That's something in this room. But yeah, I think they're suing because I think the child support organization in the UK, he was saying, is an independent organization. So it's not even the government they're suing; it's an independent organization. But I don't know, maybe.
Okay, so this is a documentary you're working on now. That's good. That's admirable. I think it's an area that needs to be highlighted. I would totally agree with that. Okay, that makes sense. I just trying to understand Pearly. It just seems like you're like a future production filmmaker / content guru type person. I think that's really where your passion lies. Is I want to create content that is going to generate some noise, generate some buzz, and make me some coin, right? I think that is really where your passion lies.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I like making. I just follow what I'm interested in. I'm not really a money motivated person, to be honest.
Well, I think you're going to hit where the algorithm hit, though. Like if you see the algorithm, it's like, hey, it's going this way, right? Like earlier when you're talking about the TikTok strategy, you kind of see what's working, what's not, and then what hits, you're like, all right, that's a lane right there. I'm going to hit that lane, right? So whether it's TikTok's doing, quizzes or you're doing a house tour, if you find a lane, you're going to grind it out. But I think it's in the content creation sphere because that's what all these things surround is content creation. You're building the content house, right? You have the studio. What's the studio called?
I don't know. The studio.
Oh, you never named the studio?
No.
Oh man, you gotta name the studio, baby girl. You better give it an African name too. You gotta name the studio though. You gotta name the studio. You gotta give the studio a name. Do you own the building or are you just renting it or?
No, we rent it.
You rent it? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, you gotta name the studio. The studio's gotta have a house. So it's just a studio and just content is created out there. All right. I don't know. Damn. Yeah, I don't know, Pearly. I really just feel like you're really good at creating content. And it's just nothing more than that, and it doesn't need to be, per se. But I think you're good at it. And you're helping other people do it. So you must know what you're doing. If you're grabbing people, and putting them in your studio and saying, hey, I can grow your subscribers 40,000 in 4 months. You know something the rest of us don't. Right? No?
Sure.
And I'm not trying to make you, look bad. I'm not trying to make you look bad. I just want to get, the honesty from you, the honest take on where some of these things are. Some things I totally understand, like you just haven't done the research on it, you haven't thought about it long enough. I totally get that. But, who you are, who Pearly is, I'm just looking for a little bit of transparency there, and I think that it's okay to say, I'm a content creator and I like making content and I'm really good at it. Because, and I got to this because when I asked you about the guy who's in that situation, kids taken away and all of that, you said that was a passion of yours, you know what I mean? And I thought it'd be passionate enough to where, you'd want to take action or at least support action with the government getting involved.
It's just more, I just don't know. I haven't really thought about that part. So I just don't know. If a lawsuit made sense, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So I feel like you keep trying to like pin me down and like some stuff I just don't know.
No, that's not what I'm trying to do. That's definitely not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to pin you down. I'm trying to figure out where you stand on things, right? Like where, for example, you said, I would be with reparations if those people were alive. And then we're talking about this dude here who's alive, going through something very real. You're documenting it. So I'm saying, okay, so this guy is alive, going through it. And now you're saying, well, I don't know, right? So that's where I'm trying to just like.
Well, yeah, but earlier I was saying I don't really have that strong of an opinion on reparations. My opinion is no, but it's not something that so.
No, I get that. Like me and you are in the same place in reparations. I'm pretty much agnostic, right? But I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. I'm just going based upon just our conversation, right? And based upon our conversation, that's what you said in regards to reparations. If those people were alive today and it was recent, then maybe, right? And I'm just looking at this guy and I'm like, this guy definitely deserves some sort of retribution and reparations. And then you hit me with the, I don't know. I'm not trying to pin you down. What I want to do is I'm a person for the people, right? So if there's a cause out there and the government needs to, pay reparations or do right by its people, I'm for that, right? Whether it's a guy who's black and he's a descendant of slaves or he's having some troubles with his girl and his baby, I'm equal like that. Yeah. So that's when I
just think a more realistic step today would be to fight for 50-50 custody off the bat. And that's just my opinion. That would be a more realistic first step. But again, it's not something I don't know.
Well, how about the government has no say-so on custody? Right? Let's think about that for a second. Because I'm like you, I've never thought about this subject matter before. What does that look like? Right? Where there is no government to go to. Right? What are the ramifications here? If a woman runs off with your child that's kidnapping, you can't take somebody away from their kids. Right? So I guess we would have government involvement in that regard. But what is happening with this whole 50-50 thing? What is the government basically doing there? Isn't that the door that we walk through, that Pandora's box that we open up, that leads to situations where men are taken advantage of just because of the fact that he has to enter into the courtroom? What if he doesn't want his kids 50-50? What if he wants his kids 50-50, but he doesn't want it managed through a government? Right? There's a lot of like nuances to this conversation. I don't know. I'm a thinker, like everybody comes on the channel like, oh yeah, we're here for the big brain content. Uncle Hotep in the chat, he hating. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to, just trying to figure out where your line is, I guess you can say. And I don't even think it's safe for you to call yourself a conservative, right? Because I don't even think you know what that means. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of people that throw around a lot of different terms, right?
Mhm.
I think when you say conservative, you're probably observing the conversations online, the content that you're creating, and understanding that the majority of your following that likes this is conservative, but you yourself don't exactly have to be conservative. Is that fair to say?
Huh?
What's a conservative?
I would just say the things that I believe are, I don't believe in high taxes. I don't believe in government handouts for the most part. And I'm very much pro-life, and those tend to line more with conservatism.
So you got three basic tenets: taxes,
Mm-hmm.
no government handouts, no reparations,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what was the other one?
I said I was pro-life.
And pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
You're a libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
You're a libertarian. That would fall under libertarian as well. That's very centrist. That's a very libertarian thing to do, or to say. I wouldn't even, you didn't mention guns. Are you pro 2A?
Yeah, I believe in. My brothers have guns, like they go hunting and stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm pro-gun.
Pro 2A. Do you like trans people?
No,
You don't like trans people.
no.
You would never be a friends or work with trans people.
They could. Would I ever be friends or work with trans people?
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't like. I think that you shouldn't chop your dick off.
Okay.
Like I think you shouldn't do that.
So you think the transition and all of that is weird? I don't really blame you. I don't really blame you. Do you go to church? Are you a
Not
church girl or?
Not recently. I used to.
Mm.
Hmm.
So are you? Do you pray a lot, or would you say you're religious or spiritual, or you're kind of like, nah, I haven't really gotten into that yet?
I would say I do pray. I wouldn't say I'm like a diehard Bible thumper, but I
Right.
would say I'm somewhat religious.
Yeah, I'm more spiritual myself.
I would say I'm like a bad religious person because I was really good about going to church before I left for England, but I got too busy. I was like really good. I used to do Bible study like once a week, and then I used to go to church every Sunday before I left for England.
Uh-huh.
Then I went to England and I just became bad.
Okay.
So I'd say I'm like an ex-good Christian. And
Yeah.
now I'm just bad for like a year and a half. So,
Mm.
because I got so overwhelmed when I got here.
What about gay or bi people? You have any gay or bi friends? You cool with gay people?
Do I have any gay or bi? I mean, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
And maybe some girls that are bi are on my team, maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
no, not really.
Okay. So when you see this whole LGBT movement, what's your general thought on the LGBT movement that we're seeing emerging in the West specifically? Do you feel like it's an agenda? Do you think it's organic?
No, I mean, I think it's an agenda. Like, I
Mm.
mean, I keep seeing these tweets about like these. I personally, the LGBT, the shit they've done with women's sports. I mean, I know that's not gay. That's like the trans, but they're all under like one now. I just think is actually disgusting. Especially as someone that has played at the highest levels. I mean, I didn't go pro, but I was one step below it. Yeah, I think that's actually great. I think it's going to be the end of women's sports if they get to do what they want.
Mm. Mm.
So,
Mm.
um,
Okay. I totally agree with you though. They're kind of bugging, bringing trans people in sports. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's pretty wild and far fetched thing to try to defend. So I guess in that,
get them out.
you said what?
Out the bathrooms too. Get them out.
Oh yeah,
Get
the
'em out
bathrooms.
bathrooms.
Yeah.
They gotta go.
Yeah, men in the women's bathroom is definitely a no-go. I have to agree there.
But I mean, I don't really. People can do what they want.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's like good for society to like push like making gay stuff like normalized. Like I don't think that's good for a society. I'm not of the opinion that you should like police what people do in their bedrooms. That's kind of like, do what you want, but is it good to like push that in a society? I would say no.
Okay. Gay marriage. If you were governor of some state, would gay people be allowed to get married?
No.
No. Oh my God. Okay, you are far right. God damn. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I don't.
And so you're definitely pro-life, so you're definitely going to be banning abortions. Wow.
Yeah, I'd ban it all. I'd ban it, yeah.
God damn.
There'd be like 0 abortions. I'd also pursue women that get abortions to the fullest extent of the law, to be honest.
Yeah, to the fullest
women
extent.
that like try to
of the law.
get like back alley stuff,
Uh-huh.
they'd go to jail. Lifetime.
Oh man. Oh my God. Shit. So you're definitely more Trump than Biden in them, obviously, right?
I mean, between the two, yeah.
Who are you looking at? You looking at another candidate for the next election?
Kanye.
Kanye. Yay. Oh wow.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not like a diehard. I have like strong opinions on certain things when it comes to politics, but
Yeah.
I'm not like a diehard political person. There's just certain things that I feel strongly about. So again, when you're like asking me about like reparations and how I would do all that stuff, like I don't really know. I feel really strongly that that abortion should be illegal. I feel like that very strongly. I feel like we should get these trans people out of our locker rooms and out of women's sports. Because one of my sisters actually had to play against one, and I just think that's wrong. And I just don't want to pay a lot of taxes, so that's just a personal thing. And I believe in the Second Amendment, but I don't personally want to own a gun. But I'm in the UK, and I feel like I'd rather get shot than stabbed, so bring back the guns. like I hear all these stabbings. I'm like, I'd rather go down with a bullet, So I don't know what that makes me, if it's a libertarian, conservative. I think we should get all the liberal stuff out of schools. Like, I think that, my ex-boyfriend told me some things that they taught him in the Chicago public schools, and I thought that was like actually crazy.
Like what?
I feel like a lot of schools have an agenda. Like my little sister went to Catholic school, and they still showed her CNN Kids. Why the hell are you showing my sister CNN Kids? I was ready to protest that school meeting, and I'm like, this is Catholic school, so what the hell are they doing in public school?
Right.
Like, this is a private Catholic institution. I think that men are discriminated against in society, especially when it comes to getting custody of their kids. I don't know the ins and outs of how you fix that, but I would say, is it suing the government? I don't know. Is it 50-50 custody off the bat? I don't know. It seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of how you make policy.
Yeah, I don't know either. My general principle is, don't touch nothing. Don't. If we're going to do anything, we take laws off the books instead of add them.
Yeah.
Have you gotten into the work of Dr. Walter E. Williams?
I don't think so.
You should.
Sometimes people will talk about someone, and I'll have heard their stuff, but I don't like but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, he worked with
People will clip me and be like, "You listened to him right there," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I forgot,
yeah.
I forgot." And then they're like, "She's lying." I'm like, "I didn't mean to."
Yeah, you probably seen his videos before, especially if you're familiar with Soul's work. He was a confidant of Soul's. So, you know, yeah, you're going to see that. You should definitely check him out, though. Like, really dive into his stuff. He's more libertarian than I would say conservative, but he's right in line with.
Am I a libertarian or a conservative based on my answers?
You're like a far right Nazi, but you date black men. So I don't like you're.
I'm a Nazi?
I mean, pretty much.
How did I get Nazi? For what? What did I do? Oh my God. Already?
It's you said it in the beginning of this conversation. You said you were all over the place, right?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, right? Because you're 26, you're young, you have not grown. And that's why I say you have to be careful with, you know, what you say you are. But, you know, would a hardline conservative say gay people should not get married? I would say that's a little bit further right than usual. I think the conservatives I run across are not gonna say that until you get to like the real
Dude,
strong.
I'm gonna get the LGBTQ plus is after me now.
Oh yeah, when they see this, yeah, that's definitely your ass.
Well, okay. I feel like the point of a marriage is like 4 kids. That's my gut feeling is like, and you can't, I mean, you can adopt kids, but even my parents adopted kids. And I see a lot of the issues that come with adoption firsthand on both ends. Who knows more about adoption than me? Okay. I had one brother I didn't meet till I was 23.
Yeah.
I had other brothers that came in and we adopted.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a lot of issues that come with adoption, to be honest.
Right.
Like, I would say I'm more similar to the brother I didn't meet until he was 31 than I was the ones that grew up with us. Somewhat, you know. So, you know, and so when I think of marriage, I think of, you know, man and a woman. That's just,
When you think of marriage, do you think of a white man with a white woman and a black man with a black woman, or does race not matter?
I've never really. I've always thought man and woman. That's always been my opinion. Now, I might actually take marriage out of the government. To be honest, it's like, what are they even doing? Why do I have to tell the government who I'm like for what? Now, there could be a lot of valid arguments on the other side of that, like, you know, marriage licenses and all that stuff. But it's like, I don't know why they have to know. Like, if I want to get married, can I just not tell them? But, you know, I'm not going to die on that hill, but that's just my gut feeling on it.
Yeah. So you're coming back more libertarian now. We were saying, why is government even involved in marriage, right? That's coming back more libertarian side, right? Libertarian
Unless, hear me out. See, I'm a flip-flopper.
Okay.
Because now I'm thinking of the other side. It's like, well, they could get married if the government wanted to push families, and then there's incentive for families to come. So there's an argument.
Wait, say that again? Like, they could have incentives for what?
For like, okay, because if you're the government, right, and you want to push families, like if that's what you want people to do, you want people to get married and have children. You imagine that would be good for a society, right? So you could have like tax breaks or whatever to push families. So that could be one argument for the government getting involved.
But you
however, and then I would go back to, they can't get married because then you're not really pushing families if it's a man and a man, you know.
So that's an interesting concept.
Again, I don't really have it's like.
But let's talk through this.
What?
But let's talk through this. That's a great point you brought up, right?
Yeah.
You say, if you're married, it's in the state's interest to nurture families. Yeah. Now, if you have a homosexual marriage, you're not going to be having a traditional family per se. Maybe you'll adopt or something like that, or some sort of, you know, science experiment. But you're saying there's a potential that the government could then say, well, you, because you have a homosexual relationship that's not the design of the state, you don't get those benefits. You can get married maybe, but you don't get the benefits. Is that a possibility? Or you're saying, nope, they still can't get married? Can't even have a license. No license for you. Because then what is the point of the license? I guess to be registered as a couple, but if you're not getting any benefits, what's the point, right?
Yeah, it's like, what's the point?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never thought about that before. I don't know where I lie on that, but okay. But I think coming back, my point being is, you're a young girl, and you haven't made decisions on a lot of things in your life, right? Like you for example, right? Now this is where I got to give some pushback. Don't say I'm trying to get you in the corner. That's not what I'm here to do. You know what I mean? I'm trying to keep the doors open here because I might need a show at your studio. Okay, so I'm definitely trying to keep the doors open. Okay, but the way you were to do that thought experiment, with the gay marriage, I want you to do that. Not, you don't have to do it now, but do the thought experiment and try to find a way where reparations would work for Black people. Just as a thought experiment. If I was a college professor, university professor, and whatever thesis, or whatever topic we were talking about, I would ask all my students to tell me, what is your bias? And then in order to get an A on the test, you'd have to make a strong argument that does not support your bias. That's where I would say great thinking happens, right? And I would love for you to do that one day, because I think that would be more conservative. I think what you're thinking of is the conservative bubble, right? So when you have these online bubbles, they have talking points. You say these things, and these are the things that get the people going, right? So when it comes to reparations, you say, well, I'm a hardline no on reparations, and that's the conservative bubble thing to do, right? But when I come to these conservative circles and I say, well, Dems must pay, I find many of them to go, well, that's a pretty intriguing thing to say. I've had this happen with Scott Adams. I've had this happen with Viva Fry and many, many others. I've turned chats from one side of the conversation to, you know what, I actually support it now if Nancy Pelosi's got to pay, if AOC's got to pay. And I'm like, hey, all of a sudden everybody's on board, And I think that's what happens from a thought experiment.
Well, I guess because when my thought, it wouldn't make sense to me that AOC has to pay because it's like people elected her. Which, when Nick was on my show, he was saying we didn't actually elect these people. So I don't know about all that, you know what I mean? But it's like, it doesn't make sense for the government to pay if we elected the government and they passed those policies. You know what I'm saying? So when you're talking about reparations, I just don't know how you would do that.
Yeah. Tax exempt status, and then it's taxpayers not paying. That's what I'm asking for. I want tax exempt status. Would you support that?
For what?
Reparations. One of my ancestors was a slave, and if I were to get reparations, I'd like to see it in the form of tax exemption for me and any corporation I'm a majority owner of.
But that just doesn't make sense because please, I don't want to talk about this topic.
Why doesn't it make sense though?
No, it's not sensitive. I just rather not talk about reparations. It's just
what this comes back to is conditioning. Many of us have been conditioned, okay? I, from a young age, was conditioned to have animosity towards white people, and maybe you were conditioned to have animosity towards this idea of reparations, right? And we all hold biases, but I think, higher thinking, enlightenment comes from learning how to release those biases and find ways that I know it made me a better individual, but when we think about reparations, it's like the arguments against it are so terrible that why would you still, having no ground to stand on, right? Still say no to reparations. And I think it's because you identify as a conservative and that's what your base is aligned with, right? So you believe that's the right thing to say.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
One, I don't think my audience is that political, to be honest. So I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't think it makes sense if you yourself weren't like I just don't think it makes sense if you yourself weren't a slave to get reparations. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
All right, no, I get it. I just
I just feel like this whole conversation, you're just saying I don't believe anything, and I'm just saying what people want me to say. So
No. What I believe is you're in a state of just undecided. I don't think you have enough information to draw definitive conclusions on things. Because, I mean, when I was your age, I was not nearly as successful as you are, but I was dumb. I was stupid. I was ignorant, especially compared to the age I am now. I didn't nearly have as much information. If we were to compare you to me at the same age, I think you're far more advanced than I was in regards to these political conversations, these relationship conversations, et cetera, et cetera. However, I do still believe there's some room of naivety and lack of education on the conversations, right? So, for example, when it comes to reparations, my thing is I haven't studied it, so I can't speak against it. So when I hear somebody else basically saying, hey, I don't study this stuff, I don't I would expect them to have the same feelings or be able to support why they say it doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying. But
I'm saying that it doesn't make sense because it's like the people weren't alive today that were either the person or didn't. And when it came to the guy with the court system, it's more like I just don't know how you would do that. Like, who would you sue and who would pay who? Is it the women paying the men? Well, women don't have money anyway. It's like, come on, like, why do you think they're taking it from him? What's he gonna sue her for?
Yeah.
So I'm like, who would he sue? I mean, you could hypothetically say the state, but then if you sue the state, like, don't we pay it? So it's like.
Well, those are the two great points you just made, right? And that's why I said I wanted to refute them, right? So the first one was, are you alive today? And that's why I said, well, couldn't we sue the Democratic Party? So that handles that rebuttal, right? And then the other one is...
But we elected the Democrats. So like if the people elected the Democrats, it's like, then you elect someone else and get them out of office. Like, I would think.
Yes, true.
So
However,
how could you sue a party when we elected them to do that stuff? It's like...
Well, that's a great point, right? Like, if you elected these people, you elected them to do a job.
Right.
Right? And it's a very important job in managing my life, my city, my state, my suburb. Now, when we look back, Thomas Sowell talks about this, how you can't even see the economic ramifications of things until it's too late.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is something he teaches. So if we voted these people in and then we go back and we look and it looks like the intent was malicious and they've actually done a bad job, just like I would hire somebody to fix my house if they come and they're supposed to fix my sink, but now everything's leaking, I have to sue that person because I elected them to do the job and they failed to do so. So when you...
Oh, that's actually a good point.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, let's sue the Democrats. Yeah, let's sue them.
We asked them to do a job and they
Yeah,
failed.
right. We can sue them. Sue AOC.
That's all
Sue
I'm saying, Pearly. That's all I'm
We come
saying.
from America. We sue for everything.
We sue for everything. So why would it be different this time, right?
Yeah, I'm suing. I won't say names.
But I also said, because we may sue the government and it can fall back on the taxpayer, that's why I said, well, then just give me tax exempt status. So it's current, but the reparations
Wait, say that again. Wait, say that again.
Our taxes pay their salary.
Right. Okay.
If I've paid you to do this job and you failed, why should I continue to pay you?
If you've paid me to do this job and you failed.
Why should I continue to pay taxes?
Oh, so you're saying like, so you're saying, okay, I just want to see how this would work. So you're getting the reparations because your ancestor was a slave, or you're suing Chicago? Who are you suing?
I'm saying whatever city, let's say it's Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Let's say it's the state of Illinois.
Okay.
Okay. Poor mismanagement. And let's say I now have to take this federal because the guy who got elected in my local community had the backing of the DNC. And he wouldn't have got that without those donors or the assistants and the gerrymandering and the backdoor deals with Republicans and Democrats, right? So that's why I said it's like, this is not even just a Democratic thing. It's also could be a Republican thing, because I haven't even seen a Republican rep come to my house. It's all Democratic reps. The Republicans just feel like it's a lost cause. You know what I'm saying? So, but if I'm paying these people via taxpayer dollars, why should I continue to pay them to screw me over? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, why should you continue to pay them? So now we don't have to pay taxes anymore. I'm in.
Oh my God, you get it now. This is the dream. This is the dream, Just Pearly. That's the place I wanted to bring you to. Just really like look at the real conversation and not just the word reparations. You know what I mean? Because when you really think about it, shit starts to make sense. Mm-hmm. When you put it like that. Because you're right. You know, I don't know about I don't look into the whole slavery thing. You know, I think there is a good argument to say, hey, you know, you weren't a slave. So you don't. I don't really have a good rebuttal for that, other than those effects are still seen today, right? But those still effects are literally because of poor management by the Democratic Party. And I think that if we understood that and we started to posture that way, especially when you say you're a conservative, we could sway more people to the other side of the conversation, because now Pearly is talking about, again, coming back to your base, they're saying it's the black community, right? It's black manosphere is basically went to civil war over a white woman, right? This is what the streets are saying, right? So if the black manosphere is in a tizzy over you, I'm just trying to figure out why you wouldn't figure out a way to make it work.
To make what work? The reparations?
Yeah, I think, but I think it's because you don't really have an attachment to the culture per se. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I think if you had an attachment to the culture, you wouldn't say that. You would stay in the middle. You'd stay out of it. A lot of people do this, right? You would say, I need more research. But I just feel like you're not attached to black culture. And you don't have to be, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the way it's being perceived online right now is you made your fame off black folks, and, you know, you continue going to make money off black folks. But at the same time, your beliefs politically are congruent to theirs, right? It's in opposition to it, right? And I think that's where the conflict is. And I think I want you to understand what the conflict is, because I think you wouldn't know that, right? I don't think you would know that. Somebody would have to tell you, and that's what I wanted to tell you. Mm-hmm. You know, does that make sense to you though?
So you're saying like my audience is not conservative?
What I'm saying is
not conservative, because I felt like the black manosphere is like half conservative.
Correct.
Yeah, like they're like half and half. That's
yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, which is why, honestly, when I just felt like when people were like, she's conservative, I'm like, I've been conservative. Where have you been? Like, my first video was Jordan Peterson. I've been here. Or maybe I'm a libertarian. I don't know I'm so tired of conservatives and Republicans and libertarians. It's like they all fighting over the semantics when we're all voting for the same person in the US. And you'll be like, oh, well, I'm going to vote for this 2% libertarian. Are you really? Like, come on. We're either voting for the Republicans or we're voting for the Democrats. So it's like, it doesn't really matter if you're libertarian or Republican or conservative.
Yeah.
Because you're voting for the same person anyway.
Yeah.
And then all the conservatives will fight with each other and they're like, well, you're this, you're this, you're this. And I'm like, who cares? We have to vote for the same person. So I'm like,
well, what the rebuttal to that is, your typical black male conservative is pretty much in lockstep with the talking points of a white conservative, right? They'll generally also shout down reparations. This is how you can sometimes identify a black male conservative. And it's not even conservative. Sonny Johnson will teach you how that's not conservative. But you'll also have a contingent of the black manosphere that was very liberal, right? I myself, I'm right smack in the middle of both of them. I think both of them make really good points, and I'm somewhere in the middle. But as a whole, a large portion of what has propelled you to the front is a conversation that black men have taken to. There've been black men in your show. You had Ra Garvey. I mean, it doesn't get any more goddamn black than the name Ra Garvey. Like, goddamn, that's a really black name.
It's not his real name.
I know it's not his real name, but you know, it's a very black name to choose as your moniker, right? You familiar with Marcus Garvey? No? Are you? No, I wouldn't expect you to. That's a very black thing to know, is to know of a guy by the name of Marcus Garvey, you know? But again, wanting you to understand what the backlash is about, my intent here with this next statement.
Mm-hmm.
Culture is saying you used black people or African people build your platform, but your views were not aligned with theirs, ultimately, is what they found out. Again, I can't say you're wrong in that matter. I don't see you as a bad person. I'll go ahead and say that now. I don't see you as some person who has malicious intent towards the black community. African community. I don't see that. All I see is a YouTube content creator trying to make some money the best way she knows how. And quite blindsided to black culture. Quite, it's a blind spot. Black culture is a blind spot to you. A huge blind spot to you. In fact, so that you had a whole series of hip hop where you're like, I don't even know what this guy is singing, right? And that turned into like a series. So I can see how you would make some missteps with the community. But personally, what I would like to see is somebody who's more fair when having these type of conversations and not just doing the thing that is the talking point. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes people that are young like you get taken advantage of because you think you know what you're saying when you say conservative, but what it means to be a conservative today isn't what it meant to be conservative 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a liberal, whatever. There's a lot of studies that goes into this stuff. You see what I'm saying? But when you take from the culture, you got to give back. That's like a rule in the black culture. If you are a Caucasian person and you make coin using black energy and you take from the culture, you got to give back. Now, I'm not saying I know what that looks like or you should do that. I am trying to translate for you how you're being perceived right now, so you understand and you could move forward how you see fit based upon your goals, your beliefs, or whatever it may be. But that's what it is right now. Do you think there's anything plausible there, or do you think it's absolutely ridiculous that they would feel this way, or is there or do you feel like, no, I'm going to continue to make Black content because I love Black people?
Can you repeat the question? Can
Yeah,
say it
absolutely. You employ a lot of Black people, made a lot of money with Black content creators. You're a part of the culture now because of the people you've implicated in your empire. The culture is saying, when you go out onto a platform and you use our faces to build your platform, don't say things against our cause, whether it's reparations or whatever. You can be a conservative, but if you're going to be working with us, here's how we stand politically, and we have a certain story, a certain struggle. Please don't disparage that. Could you respect that? Or would you say, no, this is what I believe, no reparations, and accept the fact that you will be a villain in the eyes of the culture?
I mean, I think when I'm asked a question, if you ask me my opinion on something, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to answer the question.
Right.
I don't even really understand what you're saying, to be honest.
Point of the matter is, I just don't think you have the facts.
Okay.
To we've gone through this already. To really definitively say where you stand on these things, because like we said, we're making AOC pay for reparations now. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted you to know how the culture felt. I think you understand how the culture feels and why they feel that way. So I'm asking you, do you think that it has any merit in what they're saying? Is there any merit to say, I have created an empire using Black people, Black culture, in conjunction with conservative values? Absolutely. And that's a fact. That's true. Right? With that being said, understanding how the community feels when you say things that, sort of minimize slavery, minimize reparations, couldn't you understand why these people might have a problem with you, why this culture might have a problem with you? Do you think there's any merit there, or do you think like, oh no, they're just being ridiculous?
Well, I'm just a little confused because the people on my show, they're not from like the U.S.
Right.
So you're saying this stuff about reparations, like it's not the same here because I'm in England.
Right. Right.
So that's why I'm a bit.
Well, they're African, right? Like, yeah.
Okay.
But that's the contingent of people that are angry right now is UK Brits, right? It's like,
What?
No.
No, I've found that it's more U.S. than UK because.
Definitely, I would definitely say more.
Yeah, I really haven't. I honestly have received little to no backlash, I would say, in the UK, minus the person like Sarah, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it's been mostly US. So it's just interesting because when you're talking about that issue, it's not as big here. Like if you said reparations, like I did street interviews with that topic, and like actually a lot of people didn't even know what it was.
Wow. So the UK, I guess Sarah will be in a minority based upon his more leftist views, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't say left. Like I would say people are still left here. Not as much. I would say Africans are a bit more conservative in general, but I just don't think reparations is as big here. Like I just don't think it's as So when you're saying like that issue, and I built it off the backs of like, but that's more of an American issue than a UK issue.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Like that's why when I'm listening to this, I'm like, that doesn't really.
That makes
American
sense.
Experience isn't everyone's experience.
Yeah, I guess what they're concerned with is the fact that there was the whole, that one debate with the Africans versus the African Americans, and then, the clip of the slavery and reparations, and those are all Western things, right? Those are all Western black issues, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, you make sense. I'm gonna hop into super chats here. I don't want to beat a dead horse any more than we have. Shout out to Jamison Hayes. He's a member of the channel now. Strong Dad Protocol. I watched her say she received coaching from one black YouTuber during a clip where Abba and Preach. MTR also highlights that. Can we get a real admittance to being brought up by the black manosphere? Yeah, I think it's fair to say that I think you kind of just admitted that, right? Like, the black manosphere was definitely a huge part of your success. Yeah. Hotep Garvey, he said the Illuminasa made her take down the video. She bringing it back up though. She putting it back up. She said, Illuminasa, that's inside talk over here. The Quartering, he said, paying my reparations. Shout out to the Quartering. Appreciate you, Jeremy. Jabari Judy said, ask her if she saw the Jason Black video about her. He was going in on her and Nick. I don't know. I didn't see any Jason Black video. I don't know what that is. Did you see a Jason Black video? Do you know what that is?
Yes, I did. I did see the Jason Black video.
What was that? Was that good, bad? How was that?
I felt like he really took me out of context in order to paint a narrative. A lot of these men have been watching me for months and talking shit about me for months. And now they got their, 30-second sound bites out of a 3.5-hour interview. And I feel like, yeah, he was just kind of waiting because he's been talking about me for months. He's actually the one who kind of started the whole thing. So.
Oh, okay. Yardley Moisey. Please cancel her. She's racist. What? I don't think she's racist. Yeah. Canon Hotep. Salute. Convo. Just got legal in 40 states. Listening on the ride home. Use Canon for 10% off Hotep Con tickets. Yo, Hotep Con tickets on sale right now. Joe Beauty said, Hotep Jesus is spitting facts. JustPearlyThings. She wants to get to the bag. 90% of Black American Kevin Samuel talking points. Jabari Judah, this reminds me of that Dave Chappelle skit where he says, if you want people to pay attention to what you're saying, you have to get a white woman to say it. The Mighty Walker said, Hotep, sign that Pearly deal. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I might have to sign that deal, man. I was in the UK. I might have to come down there and do a show or something. Jabari Judah, the Windsor family, royal family, Dutch East Indian Company, Bank of England, Barclays need to pay reparations to American blacks. There you go. That's a list of people right there. Like I said, they've all admitted having a hand in that. Big Elvis the Chef, Rosenberg, thank you, bro. He said, responsibly, you can get a better interview from a... Come on, man. Be nice. Garelli, I think her motive is helping men and women relations, not black culture. Yeah, I think that's fair. Joe Beauty said, can Pearl explain why she does not speak to the white manosphere audience? Instead, she is involved in the black manosphere audience. Do you think your stuff is more skewed towards black folks than white folks? Is there a white manosphere?
I think the majority of my audience is white, actually. I've had people from the white manosphere on my show.
Rolo.
I mean, space. Jay Waller's been on, Sterling Cooper. I've done stuff with the MLD. Rich Cooper, he denies it now, but I have done stuff with Rich Cooper. Yeah, no, I've worked with both. I was just a really big Kevin Samuels fan. I just genuinely loved his content.
Yeah.
He gave me advice on my YouTube channel too. I paid for a bunch of sessions back in the day from him and some other content creators. So he was yeah, I was just a huge Kevin Samuels fan.
Kevin Samuels was the GOAT, man. I love this. I love when he found his lane, when he found his niche, going at women or whatever and men and having that interview, dialogue, whatever. I thought that was genius. And when he found his niche, I was there. I was on Fresh and Fit with him the day he went viral. He's sitting right to my left. And he kept refreshing his phone and he's like, yo, this shit going viral. It was on, I think it was on World Star Hip Hop and shit hit 1 million views or whatever.
It was so crazy. I didn't like him at first. I was triggered. And then I was like, oh my God, he's so good.
Were you ever a raging leftist?
No.
Yeah. And your parents, are they conservative?
Yeah, they're both conservative.
I figured that. You know what, Pearly?
You might say libertarian. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're not real conservatives. I don't know.
Yeah. Uncle Hotep says, hashtag Team Pearly, HJ to NASA deserves no reparations, and you know this. Uncle Hotep is a big fan of yours. He loves white women. And obviously he agrees with you. He says the NASA gets no reparations. But he's one of those sellout coon Negroes I was telling you about before that pose as black conservatives. But that's a whole nother education for another day.
That's kind of rude.
You said that's rude?
Yeah, isn't that kind of rude?
I have a show with him every Thursday.
Oh, okay.
He knows how I feel about him. He knows what he is.
That he's a sellout? Why do you think he's a sellout?
Oh, well, mostly because he's a white man in black skin. He has your talking points. Your talking points are definitely not of the culture.
Why do you say talking points instead of worldview? Like, when you say talking points, it just seems like you're accusing me of being disingenuous.
No. What I'm accusing you of is naivety. That I will admit I'm accusing you of. I'm not accusing you of being disingenuous. If you were disingenuous, you wouldn't say half the shit you said. If you were disingenuous, you wouldn't have interviewed Nick Fuentes and then said, I'm going to put it back up. Disingenuity is not what I see. And I think that's what people are trying to pin on you. I think people are trying to pin on you that you are disingenuous racist. And I would not say that. I would say you're a white girl about her coin. That's how I put it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's how I view it. You know how to get out here and make these pieces of content. You know how to go viral. You know how to make money. That's what you do. You take people's YouTube channels and you make them make money. I think that's what you are. But I don't think you've done enough studies to really come out here in this political arena and talk with authority, which is why if you can't talk with authority, you can't be disingenuous. You see what I'm saying? You would have to, and that's why I said I would call it talking points and not a worldview, because if it was a worldview, you would have been more well-read. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would know who Marcus Garvey is. You have, especially since, your co-host, that's part of his name. That's where he borrowed from, right? I think you would have taken a dive into more of the studies of the differences between a libertarian. For example, have you gotten into Rothbard work? Murray Rothbard.
But
have you read?
I wouldn't say I'm in the political sphere, really.
Well, Rothbard's more economic, and that's your lane, because that's what you went to school for, right? Yeah. So Rothbard is in that lane. Economics, monetary policy. He's got a ton of stuff that he's done on that. Milton Friedman. You familiar with Milton Friedman?
Yeah, I know Milton Friedman.
Okay. So, when I think about that stuff, I'm thinking like, well, you haven't gotten into Milton Friedman, which means you probably don't know about Mises and the Mises Caucus, right? You probably don't know about comic Dave Smith. right? There's this whole other side of these conversations that exist that you haven't been exposed to. So therefore you couldn't have a worldview because you'd have to see all the points. The only thing that the internet has done for you is provide you with talking points and no substance. And that's the majority of people online. Talking points, no substance. I've been ignorant to a lot of these facts. It's just that I've been fortunate enough to be around people like Sonny Johnson, who's given me the education, who's shown me things like when we talk about why don't black people vote for the Republican Party, when you really dive into the details, you find out there was no Republican on the ballot. You know what I'm saying? Like in their region, in their district, there's no Republican on the ballot. That's the only choice they had was that because the Republicans didn't support one or wouldn't put one there. And then there's the backdoor deals, gerrymandering, moving districts around. It's basically the Republicans and the Democrats behind closed doors are basically saying, hey, here are your votes in this area. You have those. Here are ours. Don't come over here and I won't go over there. Just regular gang warfare, right? You're not privy to all this information, but it's because you haven't been exposed to it, right? Mostly because you're not even in this lane. I'm in the politics and economics lane. You're in the relationship lane. So there's a whole bunch of sources and things you'll cite that I've never saw before, right? So when you say disingenuous, I'm not saying you're being disingenuous with these political talking points. I'm just saying it's just naivety. Yeah. And you're 26. You got kids?
No.
You don't.
They accuse me of having kids, though. They're like, she has a secret child. I'm like, no, I don't.
You got an African baby somewhere in Sudan, don't you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
I swear.
But I'm 42, right? So when I look at somebody that's 20 something, I'm like, oh, you an idiot. Just off the bat, just off your age. Just off your age. Not PearlyThingz. Don't take that personal and be like, oh my God, he called me an idiot on the show. That's not what I'm doing. I'm really saying is I was once 20 and I know from being 42 how much a 20-year-old does not know about life. You see what I'm saying? I know you haven't had the time in. I know that my views changed from the moment I had children. So I could never expect you to have a worldview until you have kids, until you've selected a mate and settled down and had kids, and then say, I'm going to come into this conversation with a worldview, life, experience, time in. Right now, I'm afraid to say all you have are talking points, but that's because we failed you. I think the social media world has failed you. Because frankly, post-Trump, the political conversation was reduced in 2016. The political conversation was reduced to talking points. I'm sure it was like that before, but never like it is today, where somebody could say one thing and everybody would be like, yeah, like somebody can come online right now and be like, trans rights for trans people, right? We go, oh, leftist, liberal, Democrat. We put all these labels on. We know exactly who they are right there. You know what I'm saying? It's very simple, and they'll actually rise in fame by having that sort of take. Same thing on the right. If you come on the right and you say, hey, look, I believe in guns and I believe in freedom of speech and, you know, all these different talking points, you know, pro-life, a lot of people are going to jump on your bandwagon until it comes a point where they find out that one thing that you say that they don't like or align with, like reparations, then they go, oh, you're canceled. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, that's not fair. People are allowed to have their viewpoints. But I think where the black community fails is having an optimistic outlook on Caucasian people' ability to not see things myopically. Caucasians have been hidden the information just like black folks have. Everyone's been lied to. So when they see PearlyThingz make the statement she says, all I go is, oh, she's just telling me what she hasn't read yet. I don't get offended. But some people do.
What do you mean? What do you mean we've been lied to?
Everything we know about this country is a lie. For the most part. There's more
Like
to
what?
conversations than just yes and no.
Mhm.
But these conversations aren't had, so people are just left with left and no.
Mhm. Okay. Can you expand on that more?
Sure. We started this conversation with a hard no on reparations. My stance was I'm agnostic. But by the time we talk through it, right, like adults, and you're like, well, when you put it like that, then that makes sense, right? But nobody's ever had that conversation with you. There's two types of conversations you would have had. You would have had on one side, somebody would have been completely biased, or it would have been a black person that just said, either you agree with me or you're a white supremacist. And I'm not saying either of those.
Well, but even when what you said didn't sound like reparations though, because
Okay.
again, the reparations conversation, it was always about things like from people that didn't do it today. So like they weren't a part of it. Where what you were talking about was people that were alive and like did it today. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When you initially asked me about reparations, I was saying like they weren't alive today. How would you even do that? Especially like I was thinking of my like I think it was like my grandparents came after all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, we weren't even here. I have nothing to do with that. Like,
And that's my point. Like your bubble gave you that idea of reparations, right? But meanwhile, reparations is like not one group and one opinion. It's various different opinions and various different organizations that are like some groups are for slavery, some groups are for redlining, some groups are for, what I told you about what the government has done to us, the crack era, you name it. Some people are looking at those things, but that has never been presented to you. So how would you even know to think about it? Is my point.
mhm.
Because this conversation doesn't happen.
Mhm.
You've never had this conversation.
Mhm.
Nobody's ever come to you and said the things I just said about the reparation conversation.
Mhm. Yeah, well, like what you were talking about didn't even sound like reparations. It sounded like a lawsuit, but you know.
Again,
Mhm.
what you have in your mind
Mhm.
is a particular idea of reparations,
Mhm.
right? And that's how you view it, but that's not how everyone views it.
Mhm.
So when we say the word reparations, you defer to your experience and what you know about the topic. And that's what everyone would do. They go, well, here's what I know about this topic. These people weren't alive, But there's a whole bunch of other conversations that have never crossed your desk. They've never broken your bubble of your social media sphere, because everyone's so hardline. Either you're on the right and you're saying no, or you're on the left and you're saying, well, if you say no, you're a white supremacist. And I'm saying, no, if the person's saying no, let's explain it to them and see if they still say no.
Mhm.
And when I explained it to you, when you gave it some real thought, you were like, well, that doesn't even sound like reparations.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to if that's what you view it as,
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But you're young. You have a lot of growing to do,
Mhm.
as we all do. And I think you'll learn a lot from this experience. I think I've learned a lot about you from this conversation. But my goal today, and my goal with a lot of these conversations, is to be fair, is to be in the middle, give you an opportunity to tell the people how you feel about these subjects, give some pushback so we can really get to the root heart of things. And I think today we see where you stand. We see where you stand on these things. And I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
When I get to the UK, I'm going to hit you up. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pop up. Don't. You know, I'm gonna make a exposed video. I'm in UK and Just Pearly Things won't let me in the studio. I'm gonna knock on the door, Just Pearly. I'm knocking on the door. But yeah, I want you to have a wonderful day, and I appreciate the conversation. Wait, what? Oh, thank you for the super chat, Big Elvis. But yeah.
You think I shouldn't have platformed him?
Who?
Everyone's saying in the chat, I shouldn't have platformed Nick. Do you think I shouldn't have platformed him?
No. Here's what I said about that situation. And it goes aligned with what I'm saying now. You don't have enough knowledge to get in the ring with somebody like Nick. Mm-hmm. Like, you wouldn't know when he's pulling you out into canceled waters. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's why I said, it's like, you don't have that worldview yet. Because if you had that worldview, you would have known how to manage Nick through that conversation and speak from a place. Because like you said after the interview, like, I didn't know half the shit he was saying, right? Mm-hmm. I did. I know majority of the things he's saying. But I just think, you should stick to the relationship stuff. I think that stuff is your lane. I think you know more there. But when you start talking to people like Nick Fuentes, I don't think you have the caliber to handle a heavyweight like that.
It wasn't really meant to be like a push. I was just trying to listen to what he was saying, to be honest.
Yes. But yeah, it's not even about pushback. I'm not saying pushback. I'm saying you don't know enough to navigate those conversations, to take them to the higher level. Because of what he was saying was so foreign to you, he spent most of the time educating you on many different things and you were listening. And I've had guests on and that's happened to me as well, right? But a guy like Nick Fuentes, I just really think in that arena, he's a heavyweight. And you're a novice when it comes to that stuff. Just like if I were to come into another science arena and they started talking science, like I'm a novice when it comes to some of this crypto stuff. They have these conversations, these debates on my channel. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I know enough. I don't think you knew enough with him.
I'm actually going to have a doctor on next.
Okay.
That's going to talk about how hormones play for like different stuff. I don't know. He's actually a really interesting guy. So yeah, I'm going to keep talking to people that know things I don't know.
You should.
So, yeah.
You should. I do it all the time. Like I said, I had Tanai Ricks came on. He schooled me all the time. Sonny Johnson comes on. She's asked me questions before, made me look like a complete idiot, and then corrected me. We should always do that. I just think Nick Fuentes is different, right? Like the conversation is, do I think you should have platformed Nick Fuentes? Why not? I just think that there's nothing wrong with platforming people, first and foremost. I think people need to be, like Nick Fuentes needs to be platformed. I would never say don't platform Nick Fuentes. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is because of what happened shows that you didn't know how to navigate those conversations. And now it like...
What's the right way to man it? Like, because I was like, I hear this and it's like the right way to navigate these conversations. It's like, I don't know. I just believe in freedom of speech. And I just believe that you don't have to have a conversation perfectly. It was a 3.5-hour interview.
Yeah.
And I just don't believe you need to have like a certain level of education to like speak on a topic or a certain level of pushback. Like, I just think that like all of this is like people nitpicking at small things when it's like, it's just an interview. I'm just talking to the guy. Yeah. So.
Well, it's Nick Fuentes, right? You would have been canceled anyway for platforming him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I actually wanted to do something with him and Dr. Umar to talk about interracial relationships. That's what I wanted. But Dr. Umar didn't want to come. Sad. But that's what I wanted to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You would have gotten canceled anyway for platforming. But I think that the issue is when you couple everything together against reparations and your opinions on whatever else, right? And then you have a lot of black workers, and then you platform like Nick. I can see why people. Again, I don't agree with why people are canceling you, but I can see, based upon their worldview, why they would want to cancel you. Because you have, I'm not going to say majority, but you have a large black audience, and some of them happen to be leftists. If there's one thing leftists are going to do, they're going to make a stink and cancel people. That's kind of comes with the territory, right? And I'm not saying, again, that you shouldn't platform Nick Fuentes. All I'm saying is, with a guy like Nick Fuentes, he's so knowledgeable that I look for conversations with people that could take his conversations to the next level, and not some of that stuff that, came out in those clips.
Yeah, I mean, we could always do another one. So, it's not like that's the other thing. It's like you can do interviews after with people, take the conversations to the next level. It's also different too, because again, we're not in America here, so it's just a little bit different, but I don't know.
But again, I think these are just blind spots, right? Like, I believe you legitimately had a blind spot and said, I'm going to platform Nick Fuentes. This is going to be great content, right? And that's just what it is. I don't think you even knew that you'd piss off black people.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect this level of pushback, but at the end of the day, I will continue to have controversial guests on. I will not stop having controversial guests. I believe in freedom of speech. I'm going to re-upload all the interviews, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I wish you the best.
Yeah. And I also don't think it's like really, I think that people can have conversations, and you can just, if the conversation isn't to the highest level, you can just have another conversation with someone at a higher level, and that's how you learn, by talking to people. So
yes, I agree. Again, I don't think you should have not had the conversation with Nick. I'm glad you did. I'd like to see more conversations. I love seeing conversations that piss people off, so to speak. If there's a conversation that happens and people are pissed off, it's probably some substance was said during that interview or that conversation. Like, there's probably something there, right? Not always, but sometimes there is. But I really believe you just had a blind spot. I just think you had a blind spot, and you're like, I'm a platform Nick Fuentes. You didn't know all about his past, et cetera, et cetera.
I didn't know the extent of his views. I definitely did not know he denied the Holocaust. That's crazy. But honestly, Nick was really polite, to be honest. He was actually really nice to everyone, and I really don't have a bad word to say about him, to be honest. I think he's got some crazy views, but even to the point, some of my staff were taking pictures with him after. So,
Ken Potty said, Nick.
It's funny because a lot of the people that were so concerned about my staff didn't reach out to them, even though they have their numbers, a lot of them. So it's just a bit interesting to me. So.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes is not racist. Nick was talking about his dating preference. Dr. Umar and Nick are the same. Ken Patchy, I'm black, and I was not offended by Nick Fuentes, who is still 25. Educate Nick, not attack him. Yeah, again, young Thundercats. You got these young Thundercats out here on the internet, and everybody upset. I ain't letting no goddamn young white Thundercat get me upset. I'll be goddamned if I let a kid get me upset. Because I'm not invested in this shit like that. But I do think there's value in having conversations and educating people. JustPearlyThings, you're amazing. Content creator. I'm going to be watching you closely because you're obviously doing something right, and I want to learn from it. But when I get to the UK, I'm banging on your door, all right? Don't give me the mm-hmm. Is that a yeah or no? Can I if I bang on the door, is you gonna open the door or not?
Am I gonna open the door?
Yeah.
We'll put you on a panel. We can put you on a panel.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we can put you on a panel.
She said we gonna put you on the panel.
You mean to invite Nick?
This that big boss talk. Don't try to finagle me into an interview with Nick Fuentes. I was slick. It's that big boss talk. See, you're good. You're good at what you do. You got the evil genius thing going on. You're good at what you do. And I respect it. I respect it. Here's what you got to do though. Can I give you a bit of advice?
Mm-hmm.
Lean into that. Don't run from it.
Lean into what?
That capitalist mindset you have.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's about you doing business, be flagrant about that. Don't, when somebody accuses you of doing business, don't run from it. Say, yeah, I'm doing business. I create content. I make people hot. If you don't got a problem with it, then you don't want to be hot. Don't run from that. You is what you is. Don't apologize. Because that will make you seem disingenuous.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just like, I just don't think people realize how not motivated I am by money. Like, I'm just not like, and anyone that works with me will tell you that. So, if it seems disingenuous, that's fine, but I'm just not a money motivated person. I've always been motivated by projects, by creating really cool stuff, and by doing cool stuff. I just, when you say you're about that money, it's like, then I think I would be a lot better with my money, because all I do is spend it on equipment.
Well, I think
so.
Well, like I said, I think you're very passionate about creating content.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm accusing you of. What's wrong with that? You want to make content that goes viral. You've been doing it. You've been doing it at a successful level, no matter what lane you go into. Mm-hmm. And when people accuse you of that, don't run from it. It's the truth. You're a content creator. This is a business for you. And I'm not saying it's about money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's about money. But
yeah,
this is what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that kind of minimizes what I was saying earlier, that, you know, again, my brother tried to commit suicide, and that makes me really passionate about men's issues. And while this is entertainment, I do think that we don't really advocate for men, and there's not content in society that really shows the men's point of view and also advocates for men's issues. So when you say that it's like capitalistic and you're just doing it for content, okay, but I just, think that sort of minimizes the other part of it. So
no, I wouldn't say it's just about that. I'm just saying, don't run from it is all I'm saying. It's not a bad thing. It's bad when you don't admit it. When you are a content creator and you create content that goes viral and you're good at it and you love working on these types of projects and that's your passion, say that. When people accuse you of it, say that. Don't try to hide that, because that's going to make you look disingenuous. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's something wrong when it is a passion project and you push it off as something else. Then it was like, wait, hold on. Because you're not consistent on some things, right? But you are consistently a viral content creator, and that's what you want to do. And just be honest about that. It's just my own advice. That's all. I don't think there's any malicious intent behind it. I just think that's who you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Pearly, you're young. You have a lot of room to grow. And I think you have a beautiful future in front of you. I'm looking forward to your statement. Your statement's coming out when?
There's some legal stuff going on, so we'll see.
Okay. All right. So we're waiting on a statement. Just PearlyThingz here on YouTube. Subscribe there, right?
Yeah, Just PearlyThingz on YouTube.
Subscribe there. I am.
That Hotep Jesus dude.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
Hotep Jesus? I love that guy. He's terrific.
She's like, how many buttons he's gonna hit before I get out of here? Pearly, I'm gonna catch you next time, yo. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for having me.
No doubt. Later.
Didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Tom, don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I said goes and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. Chasing the commas till I'm gone. I've been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million bed.